got some major NFL draft rumors from ESPN to discuss here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and coming up, will the Titans trade the number one overall pick? Will the number one pick be a quarterback? Who is the number one quarterback according to NFL executives out there? Who is the top prospect in the NFL draft? And why all of this impacts the Las Vegas Raiders? Because to me, when I see an article that's released by ESPN Plus and that is out there right after, again, Super Bowl Media Day, all of these people talking, you have to see what the rumors are, because rumors, where there's smoke, there's fire, and the Raiders can be a team that starts planning for the future, because I think that this is a team that needs to plan for the future. So if you haven't seen this article, I encourage you to go check it out, or you can watch this video, which is kind of what I'm hoping people do. They released an article that was titled 2025 NFL Draft Execs, Scouts, and Top Pick Prospects and Quarterbacks, and here's what the gist of it was. 4 of our NFL Nation reporters were on the ground, who were Teron Davenport, Jeff Legwood, Daniel, and then Catherine Terrell. They pulled NFL executives, coaches, and scouts to help answer those questions. So when I think about the Raiders and what are some of the biggest question marks we have this offseason, the biggest question mark is what we are going to do at the quarterback position. Now, last week I put out a video regarding some interesting rumors around the Tennessee Titans. That video did over 40,000 views, and I had a lot of people telling me, Mitch, I would like to see more of this NFL draft-centric stuff because it does impact the Raiders. So because the nation wanted to see it, that's what we're delivering here on today's show. So the first thing is this. Will the Titans trade the number one overall pick? A few weeks ago on this show, we talked about how there is a lot of smoke. There's a lot of rumors indicating that Tennessee might be a team that's willing to move on. Here is yet again more and more smoke around the Titans moving on. In fact, out of the 8 executives that were asked, 5 said that the Titans are going to trade the pick. 3 people said that they're going to keep the pick. And an actual quote was, feeling is the Titans will trade the top pick. The fact that there are already quotes like this in February, and I mean realistically early February, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And usually these type of rumors are out there made by Tennessee because they know that the number one pick this year doesn't have nearly as much value as years past. So what do you think is going to happen here with the Titans? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. Do you think Tennessee is going to keep it, or are they going to trade the number one overall pick? My answer coming up here in just a moment. If I was a betting man, and I'm a betting man, I think that the Titans are going to end up trading that number one pick. And near the end of today's show, I'm going to tell you which team I think actually is going to be the team that makes the move. Let's go to the next story here from ESPN. Again, more rumors around the number one overall pick. And the way the NFL draft works, it's a domino effect. If that number one pick gets traded, and the fact that there's already rumors around number one, if something happens, the domino effect is going to happen really quickly, and I just want the Raiders to be prepared. So will that number one pick in the 2025 NFL Draft be a quarterback? Well, according to ESPN, according to the execs, 3 people said yes, 4 people said no, and then 2 others just said, I'm undecided, I'm not going to make a decision. Overall, the quarterback quality in this year's draft seems to be a little bit low. Based on some of the people that I personally talked to, and Chat Sports, we're getting ready to send some people down for the NFL Combine. When I say down, we also have a Cincinnati office. A lot of our people in Cincinnati are going to go down. We're going to send some people from our Dallas office up there as well. But a lot of executives think it's too early to figure out who's going to go number one. But the fact that the quarterback quality is low, you could see some QBs potentially slide a little bit. Here's what ESPN had to say. There doesn't seem to be any firm consensus on whether the top pick will be a quarterback or another position right now. Opinions were mixed among NFL executives, coaches, and scouts at the Senior Bowl. The quality of the quarterback class was the biggest concern of those polled. And I don't disagree with the fact that there is some quarterback concern when you look at this class. If it was up to me, the number one quarterback in this year's class is Cam Ward, and then I think if there's a tier break, I could make an argument that Shedeur Sanders is maybe the safest, because when I say safest, I mean the safest to not be a complete bust. That does not mean that I think that Shedeur Sanders is going to be a top 10 quarterback, because I actually don't think that Shedeur is ever going to be a top 10. He's one of those dudes that if you're hoping to be in that, hold your ears, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, I'll call it purgatory of QBs for a few years. Maybe you put a few good teams around him and you can compete. but I do think Shedeur is one of the safer options. We'll also get into some of the other quarterbacks that I like. In fact, I'm putting out my Raiders QB rankings in this video. Before we break all of that down, I've been getting asked a lot, hey man, where do you get some of your Raiders hats? And this hat is I only give away during live shows, so make sure you're tuned into all of our live shows. But I don't know if you have noticed, I've been trying to step up my Raiders hat game. And if anybody out there needs a new lid, go to chatsports.com/Raiders hats. There are hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of different hat varieties, way, way more than what you see on screen right here. If you want a snapback, got you covered. I did just get my very first corduroy Raiders hat, which looks kind of similar to this one. I'm obsessed with it. I'll admit, you got to make sure that you keep it clean. But if you want a silver hat, like I've worn a Raiders silver hat a few times on this show, you can get it at chatsports.com/Raiders hat. So if you want the hats that I'm rocking, they're right down there below. That link's down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So if the Tennessee Titans might trade the number one pick, if right now it sounds like the number one pick ain't even going to be a quarterback, let's talk about who that number one QB could be according to ESPN. 4 votes for Cam Ward, 3 votes for Shedeur Sanders. And this is interesting to me because I think there's no doubt in my mind that Ward is the best quarterback in this year's class. I really believe the reason why Sanders' name is being thrown out there is because of how accurate he is. And you can roll your eyes, but he is literally the most accurate quarterback from a completion percentage standpoint in college football history. That's a cold, hard fact. And there are a lot of teams that believe because of him being associated with Dion, him being associated with all this pressure, that there are a lot of people that think that he is the top quarterback and that they're going to be able to work with him because he's gotten better and better and better. I will admit, though, this really only sounds like it is a 2-man race. And with that being said, I almost wonder if 2 quarterbacks do only go in round 1. Or could we see somebody like a Jackson Dart, a Jalen Milroe potentially squeak in to the back end of round 1? According to ESPN, Ward and Sanders have established themselves as the headliners of this year's quarterback class, and Ward narrowly edged out Sanders in our pool of league execs, coaches, and scouts. While both are expected to be the first 2 signal callers selected in April's draft, multiple people at the Shrine Bowl noted that this class is watered down. And I don't fully disagree with that. Like, the next year's class is going to be better. 2024's class is way, way better. But if you're the Raiders, this would be my quarterback rankings for the silver and black. Cam Ward's number 1. It's not close. Number 2 is Shedeur Sanders because of his connection with Tom Brady. Again, I do my rankings for the Raiders and for the Raiders only. That's the only team that I care about. Shedeur's connection with Tom Brady makes him number 2. The reason why I have Jalen Milroe at number 3 is because I look at Jalen Milroe and Jackson Dart both as 2-year projects. And I would say Jalen Milroe has higher upside because he's more of an alien than Dart. Though, if you had to tell me which quarterback would I trust more after 1 year in a Chip Kelly system, I actually would say Jackson Dart could be more prepared than Jalen Milroe. Down here, number 5 is Kyle McCord. The more and more tape I watch on McCord, if you told me right now the Raiders go out and they sign a quarterback like a Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, whoever in free agency, and they don't take a QB on day 1 or day 2 and they find a quarterback on day 3, Kyle McCord is the number 1 quarterback I would love for the Raiders to get on day 3 of the NFL draft. But Cam Ward seems to be the consensus number 1, and he's gotten better and better and better from Washington State to the U, and this is somebody that I've followed a long time. His arm strength, his ability to spray the ball around the field, and ability to tuck in and run. He's not a runner, but he can pick up a first down. I think he's the perfect fit with Chip Kelly. For somebody like Shedeur Sanders, he's got to be in a little bit more of a system, and I would say his system fits probably better of a style of offense that Pete Carroll and Tom Brady would run. Maybe not so much of a spread it out. I know Sanders is a good athlete, but he's not a runner. And if people think that they're going to use Shedeur Sanders to run the football, I'm sorry, you are just massively, massively off there. Then let's go to the final thing here. Who is the top prospect? Because usually we always talk about best player available, and we've talked a lot about best player available recently on this show just because of how great of a pick Brock Bowers was last season for this team. Though, when you look at a lot of NFL draft rankings, and I'm not surprised by this at all, I don't think that Cam Ward or a quarterback is the top prospect. That doesn't mean that they're not going to go number 1. QBs usually go number 1 because it's the most important position in the NFL. But when you look at what NFL execs say, 12 total votes, Abdul Carter got 7, Travis Hunter got 5 votes. About a month ago, the Tennessee Titans came out and said, we want to draft a generational type player. I sat up here on this show and I said, when I hear generational, I think of Travis Hunter. The fact that Hunter had less votes than somebody like Abdul Carter, maybe we're hearing some other stuff out there. But then also, I said this on our live show, I want to say on Tuesday, that Hunter is being listed as a DB, as a cornerback in the NFL draft. Do teams value that differently because Carter's an edge, Travis Hunter's a corner? Could that make Hunter's stock fall down a little bit? Because I do think that there's some people out there that believe that Hunter could play wide receiver and corner in the NFL. I think he could if he was given the opportunity. I just don't think that he's really going to be given the opportunity unless Deion Sanders is a head coach somewhere. But here's what ESPN had to say on what the Titans could potentially be doing, trading the number 1 pick. The Titans have made it known that they're willing to entertain offers for the first pick. President of Football Operations Chad Brinker said he wants to acquire picks, especially in the top 100. Trading out of the number 1 is the best way to add more draft capital. Now, even though that's what he said, I also broke down 3 different trade ideas on this video, and this is the video that I was referring to earlier that I had so many people like, dude, can you make more content like this? And I'm here to make y'all happy. So if you want to go check out this video, it is down in the comments and in the description of today's show. But here's the problem with what Brinker had to say. I get that he wants more picks in the top 100. The problem with that statement is this isn't a year that the number 1 overall pick has that much value. And a lot of the times when I put out trades for the Raiders to move up to the number 1 overall pick, a lot of people told me no. And that's okay. You're allowed to have that opinion. And I want everybody, when they watch the show, to have this opinion. But here's my question. If the Raiders could get the number 1 overall pick, which for me, it would be Cam Ward and Cam Ward only. I'm not trading up for anybody else. And if all the Titans asked was, you're swapping first, a 3rd-round pick, reminder, the Raiders still have pick 73. You give up your 4th-round pick, 107, and you give up a 6th-round pick, which you have 2 other 6th-round picks on top of that. I know that this team is lacking depth in a lot of areas, but if you believe that you are a quarterback away, and we'll see what happens in free agency to even get to this point, but if the Raiders go out, let's say, and sign Sam Darnold with $30 million a year, I don't think they're going to take Cam Ward number 1 overall, so it could change a lot. But at this moment right now, you don't know who your quarterback is. I believe Cam Ward's the best fit you could possibly put with Chip Kelly. This is a trade that I would do in a flippin' heartbeat. So I'll say this, and I said it at the beginning of the show, with all of these rumors around Tennessee right now, I do think that they're going to trade the number 1 overall pick. And I said this yesterday at the Chat Sports Studios. I said it live on our show, which we went live for on Thursday. I said that the New York Jets are the team to me that I believe trades up for that number 1 spot. They're willing to move on from Aaron Rodgers. They're willing to eat $49 million. That is a team and an organization that has done everything to try to win ASAP Rocky. They're also an organization that is desperate. Desperate teams do desperate things. And I think right now you're seeing a lot of these leaks from the Titans because they know the Jets are making a lot of things happen. And the Jets are a team that are not afraid to talk with all that media going on. So I believe the NFL draft, the team that takes the number 1 pick, if I had to bet right now, it would be the New York Jets. So in conclusion, the Titans seem that they're likely to move on from number 1. Quarterbacks could slide to 6, so we'll see what that means for the Raiders. I mean, if the top 2 teams, which right now is the Browns and the Titans, let's say they keep that pick. If they keep it, I actually think it would be Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, bang, bang. Then what do the New York Giants decide to do? Do they go Cam Ward? Do they go Shedeur Sanders? It's going to be a really, really interesting NFL draft. All I know is this. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you're subscribed to the Raiders Report because we will be live and we will show you the picks before you actually see them on TV when it is finally the day for the draft.